are watching from, awesome. I'm live on all the platforms now. And of course, if you are watching the replay, go ahead and tag or write hashtag replay in the comments, letting me know that you were watching this broadcast. I would love to see you in here. I would love to know that you were here with us. I would love to see you. And I would love to virtually meet you and greet you. Welcome. I'm live now on all the platforms. I am excited to talk about this really quickly. I'm going to be on here for like 20 minutes. I am super passionate about talking to creatives. So I'm going to be talking to you all about how you can be more, how you can have the maximum impact with your creativity. One of the things that really stuck with me throughout the devotional webinar, if you didn't come to the devotional webinar, oh my gosh, you missed out. But one of the things that one of the speakers said to us was, what Corey Robinson said to us was, are we creating from a place from God's perspective? Are we creating because God gave this to us, or are we creating something from our soul? And so I want to talk about actually 5 ways for us to just recognize that we are called to this, that we are called to create in a certain area of influence. And so I want you to type in the comments the number 5. I'm just going to give you 5 ways for you to know that you are called to this thing and that you are going to dominate in that sphere of influence because you recognize these 5 indicators. Type the number 5 in the comments. Welcome. And as you're coming in, I want you to share this with your family and friends so that you can encourage them to use their creativity. You can encourage them to use their gifts, to execute, to pour out, to use what God has given them. I feel like sometimes we don't create with confidence because a lot of us we don't understand where we're called, or we don't understand that God has assigned us to this place. And if God assigned us to this place, that means we're going to we have authority, and that really does mean that we have the grace to make the maximum impact. So I want you to type in the comments the number 5. I want you to go ahead and share this with your family and friends, especially if you're watching on Facebook and you're watching on YouTube. Go ahead and share this video, and I want you to go ahead and like this video already before I get started. Welcome, welcome, welcome. If you don't know who I am, please go watch my other videos. Just a brief introduction. My name is Takumbo Kalaja. Some people call me Coach Takumbo, and I am the founder of Takumbo the Leader, where we help emerging leaders to discover voice, identity, and purpose so they can dominate in their destiny. I'm also the founder of Write Your Book Academy because one of the things I'm passionate about, and I know where I'm called to create, is to help other leaders to write and publish and sell their faith-based books. So welcome. If you're new here, I'm so glad that I'm joining you here today on this broadcast. So the first area that you need to understand that you are called to create in this place is, do you cry over what God has placed on you? Do you have a burden for these people? You will know you have a burden. And actually, Ricky said this too during our Write Your Devotional webinar on day 1, is that you will probably cry over this. I'm going to give you this short story where I found out that I was called to help people to write, and I was super passionate and became obsessive about this. Was during my first year teaching, I gave this writing assignment to my students. And y'all, I thought that I was the best teacher of the decade. I thought I was the teacher of the decade because I gave them this writing assignment. I collected their papers. And when I got home, I was so excited to read the papers. I was a nerd, right? I'm still a nerd. But I was so excited to read their papers. And when I got in my bed thinking like, yeah, you're the best teacher ever. Look at you. You let these kids write. So number 1, cry. Just type that in the comments. Cry. And I was like, when I read the papers, when I got in my bed, I was like, wait a second. I literally, good to see you, Aisha. I literally started crying when I was reading their papers. I want you to type in the comments, why, coach? Why, coach? Why was I crying? Y'all, I was crying because half of my students did not even finish the assignment. Some of the students wrote like 1 paragraph, and it was a 5-paragraph assignment. I taught 6th through 8th grade. And when I was in 6th grade, I had the same assignment. So I was like, surely my kids are going to be able to do what I did. I got the paper back. I got their papers back. And I'm glad that you asked me why. I got the papers back and I just started crying because, first of all, half the students didn't even turn in their work. Second of all, I saw like 1 paragraph or I saw 3 sentences and I was crying because I said, oh my gosh, the students did not finish the assignment that I gave them. And it looks like maybe I didn't teach properly or they got stuck somewhere. This was difficult. And so that is an indicator. If you are crying over something or you have a burden for people, you probably are going to be crying and be laboring and thinking about, okay, what can I do in order to improve, in order to help the people that I'm called to serve in this area? And so, number one, you need to indicate, you need to be able to decipher, am I crying over this? Do I have a burden for these people and for this particular thing? Number two, are you willing to look crazy? So my second C is crazy. I got 5 C's. Y'all know me and my prophetic letters. The second C, type in the comments, crazy. Are you willing to look crazy, especially for a season for your calling? If you're not willing to look crazy, you probably are not called to this. And I'm going to tell you, if you are a kingdom builder, if you have an assignment in the kingdom of God, more than likely you're going to look crazy for a particular season because maybe you're a forerunner. You see ahead of time. You are a visionary. You are usually ahead of your time. And so maybe people are making fun of you. They're ridiculing you. They're mocking you. But do you have the ability to endure while people may be ridiculing you, while people may not believe in your dreams? I remember when I decided I was going to become a teacher, and I know that God called me to that area as a middle school teacher. One of the things that happened is some people in my family thought I was ridiculous. Some people in my family thought it didn't make any sense that I would just go into teaching after graduating. And I was looking crazy for a season. I looked crazy to them, but I had a conviction because God called me to that place. And so and I was able to maximize or even create lesson plans and really fulfill my purpose. Why? Because I didn't care about looking crazy. All I cared about was being obedient. I want you to type in the comments, #obey him. All I cared about was fulfilling the fullness of my calling. All I cared about was that I was listening to God's voice. In Isaiah, it tells us that you will eat the good of the land if you obey him. And so a lot of us, we're not being able to be fruitful. We're not prospering in certain areas. Why? Because we are not willing to look crazy for the assignment. You are so focused on what other people think about you, and you're not focused on what God has said about you. This is a season that if you're going to pour out and you're going to maximize, you need to be more focused on the voice of God, on the will of God, what God has told you to do. And you shouldn't care if people think that you're crazy. You should be more planted and rooted in the fact that God assigned you to this. And if God assigned you to that place, you're going to have maximum impact. You're going to see your audience and the people that you serve be able to blossom and bloom because you decided that, okay, I'm going to look crazy for this season and I don't care because I know that God called me to this. Type in the comments, that's me, if you're feeling me, in the comments. Number 3, no compromising. You know that God called you to this. You're not watering your assignment. You're not watering your message. Type in the comments, no compromise. I'm not compromising what God told me. I'm not going to change what he said to me. I'm not going to start making up things and making my flesh, my desires bend. Excuse me. I'm not going to twist the scriptures or twist what God said in order for me to feel comfortable. And sometimes, and I was guilty of this too, especially when God told me I had to go to Mississippi to teach my first year, I was trying to compromise and say, you know what, God, I'll teach, but I'll teach in PG County. You know what, I'll teach, but I'll do it on my own terms. And some of us, we are twisting what God said. We're adding to what he said. We're taking away what he said because we're trying to make ourselves feel comfortable. And we're actually compromising. And so God is saying, like, if you are creating with me, there's no compromise in your creativity. I know that maybe if you create this way, it might be more palatable. It might be more mainstream for the people that you're trying to reach. But if you know that God called you to this and you believe that he's going to blow on whatever it is that you're doing, you don't compromise, you don't change it, you don't shift it, you don't make it be something that God didn't ask you to make it for the sake of you fitting in with other people. So number 1, are you crying over the people that you're called to serve? Do you stay up at night praying for them, thinking about them, thinking about how you can best serve them? Number 2, are you willing to look crazy for your calling to create for a season? Right, Noah? Number 3, no compromising. You're not shifting things. You're not bending things for the sake of other individuals. You're not giving up your values as a Christian creative so that you can be accepted to people that you're not called to or God didn't ask you to do. Number 4, which is even tying into number 3, but are you willing to give up comforts? Are you willing to say, you know what? This is something that I didn't really plan, and I know that it's not pleasing to my flesh. I know that this is something that is causing me to come out of my comfort zone. I know that this is not my norm. This is not something that I grew up doing. Nobody in my family, my progenitors have never done this before, but I'm willing to be uncomfortable. I'm willing to give up some things that I'm willing to give up my comforts. And sometimes when God is sending you to create, or he's telling you to go create something, a lot of us got it twisted and think that, okay, because God assigned us to this, we're going to get all these things. It's going to be comfortable. But I just am reminded of when Jesus said, the Son of Man has nowhere to lay his head. Foxes have dens and birds have holes or nests, but the Son of Man has nowhere to lay his head. And so how come as believers in this dispensation, do we think that things are going to be comfortable for us as we create with him? And Jesus even said he had no place to lay his head. He was uncomfortable. He had to take on human flesh. He took off deity so that he can become uncomfortable. He debased himself. I believe it's Philippians 1, where he took off deity and became uncomfortable and lived among human beings that were ratchet, that were torn out the frame. And yet when God is saying, okay, you're called to this, but are you willing to be uncomfortable for a season? Are you willing for things to be tight? And really, we know that when pressure is on you, diamonds and the jewels and things come out of you that you didn't even know was in you. And I love my experience in Mississippi. I love my experience. There was something that we said that was funny with Teach for America, but Teach for America was a program I went through. And one of the things that was hilarious about it is that people were like, oh, this is an experience that I never want to ever have again. Because it was a good experience that I never want to have again because it was so uncomfortable. But the pressure and the stress we endured during that time, let me tell you, it produced something I didn't even know I could teach. I didn't even know I was a teacher. I didn't know I loved this. I didn't know I could love middle school students like this. I didn't know I could serve like this until the pressure came on. And some of us, you're never going to know what's inside of you unless you get pressure on you. You're running away from pressure, and God is trying to show you, hey, there's a different dimension in you. You're multi-layered and you're multifaceted. And I'm trying to get you to see that. But in order for you to get to that place, I got to apply pressure. Type in the comments, apply pressure. And don't run away from the pressure, because you're going to be able to create something that the world has never seen before, that you have never seen before, because of living in a state of being uncomfortable. Lastly, obviously, if you're called to create in this area, there should be some sort of creativity. You should think outside of the box. There should be no box. There should be no limitations. There should be no impediments. You should be thinking, how can I elevate this? How can I change this? How can I shift this? One of the things that happened for me when I was a middle school teacher, I took my teacher's idea. When I was in 6th grade, we had these writing portfolios. And so I took her idea and I decided that my students had to do writing portfolios, and we were going to have a writing showcase. We ended up having it the 2 years that I was at that school. Teach for America is 2 years, and I was there for 2 years. And we had a writing showcase. It was something that the community had never seen before. We had never done before, but I was willing to do that, or I wanted to do that and God was gracing me with the ability to see that and to do that. Why? Because I was called to that. Because I continue to press, even though, and let me tell you something. If you don't even take a leap of faith in one area of your creativity, you're not going to be able to see another dimension, or God is not going to be able to unlock another realm of creativity and understanding where you're called if you don't even do the first thing. There's some of you listening to me that are creatively frustrated. Why? Because you have not decided to release one thing, because you're not willing to look crazy. You're not willing to do things uncomfortable. You're not willing to do things that make you stand out. And because of that, you are missing out on another realm of creativity that God is trying to show you about your assignment and your calling. And so it's going to be in your best interest that if you allow him to apply pressure, if you walk by faith and not by sight, I believe that God is going to show you another dimension, another layer of your calling that you didn't even know was inside of you. But because you took a leap of faith, because you were walking out on water and you decided, okay, I'm going to just go with you, Jesus, God is going to begin to unlock a new realm of creativity. I want you to type in the comments, unlock, 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 unlock. Y'all, I'm going to tell you the 5 things again. You're called to create because you cry over it. Remember my story, thinking I was the best teacher ever, and then ended up crying because the assignment didn't turn out the way I wanted it to. Are you willing to look crazy? Are you willing to not compromise? Are you willing to give up comforts? And are you willing, or are you seeing a new realms of creativity? Or are you just, is it the same dry project every single year? You should not be in a dry spell, and it should not be stagnant. You should be able to see creative dreams. You should be able to see elevation in your ideas. There should be your ideas should be multifaceted, multi-layered. Every year you should be elevating. You should not be in the same place. If you're a creative that's called by God, God is going to upgrade. He's going to elevate your creativity. Type in the comments, elevation. Y'all, I want to help you to unlock your creativity. If you believe that any of these areas, you're like, hey, I know that I'm called to these people. I cry over this burden. I have a burden for this. I have a desire to help these individuals. I'm experiencing high volumes of creativity. I'm experiencing where I don't care if I'm uncomfortable. I'm still going to ride for the people that I'm called to. I want to help you to unlock your book, to unlock your writing, to unlock the creative idea that God has given you in order for you to share and have the maximum impact for your audience. We are going to meet you in Atlanta, Georgia on March the 2nd. We, Coach Tanika, myself, and we want you to join us for our Unlock Your Book tour. It's going to be, if you're in VIP, it's going to be 4 hours. We're going to drop the link in the comments, but it's going to be 4 hours. And if you're on IG, go to my bio. It's going to be 4 hours where we take you through the A through Z process of writing your book. I call it the 3 major stages of writing your book. One of the things I'm giving people, because a lot of people want to be accelerated on their journey of writing their book, one of the things that I'm giving individuals is I'm giving you my blueprint that has helped me to write about 20 plus of my books. I follow a simple format. I call it my simple secret sauce. I call it my 3T blueprint. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually share my blueprint with you all on how to write a traditional manuscript. We spent 3 days talking about devotionals, but there's a traditional manuscript and there's a blueprint. I call it the 3T blueprint. It's a blueprint that I follow. You're going to follow it. It's very simple. I'm going to give it to you during the workshop. You're going to receive it. You're going to ask questions. And if you're in VIP, we're going to take it a step further and we're going to answer your self-publishing questions, your marketing questions. And also in VIP, you're going to get feedback about your book idea. You're going to get feedback about your structure, your audience for the book, and you're also going to get feedback on the title of your book. And so I want you to come because I want to be able to give you that feedback and I want to be able to coach you in person. And I want to be able to sit with you and learn more about what God has called you to do, what God has assigned you to do. And so I want you to make sure to join us for the VIP. The link is in the description. If you're on Instagram, it's going to be in my bio. Join us. Our tickets are actually on sale and the sale is about to end. So the sale is about to be over with. So I want you to join us. We're going to have fun writing together. You're going to be with other creatives, other prophetic scribes, other individuals who are passionate about fulfilling their God-given assignment. They're passionate about sharing or writing from God's heart and God's perspective, because that's mostly who I'm called to, are the individuals that write for God. If you write for God, I want you to type in the comments, I write for God. And I want to see you in Atlanta, Georgia. We're going to have fun. We're going to have 4 hours of work time. We're going to talk about publishing your book, selling your book. And if you sign up for VIP, you're also getting my digital Publish Now textbook. We're going to go through the 3 stages. We're going to go through the pre-writing stage, the drafting your book stage, and the revising your book stage. If you have so many great ideas and you don't know where to start with your book, you need to join us at the Unlock Your Book Tour. And really, some of us, we should already have gotten started with our introduction when you get to, you should already be done with your introduction by the time you leave Atlanta. You really should, because you should just follow my blueprint. And after you finish that blueprint, you should be good to go for the next chapters and then the next chapters. All right, I'm out of here. I would love to see you at the Unlock Your Book Tour. I would love to see you in person in Atlanta, Georgia. And I would love to help you to unlock your book. Let's pour together in 2024. Leave a legacy in writing with y'all later, and love you like a leader. Have a great rest of your night. Bye.